before late 60s, the word gay was used to say, I'm so gay today, I'm so happy today. Today, gay has a different meaning. Similarly, Krishna, was he renowned in those days as avatar or incarnation of God? No. Some people wanted to kill him also. You don't have to meditate to understand what is wrong and what is right.
Hi, Daaji. Thank you so much for taking out your time to talk. It really is an honor. I've been going around your ashram for the past 2 weeks, actually, and it's really been a great experience. I've not only seen so many beautiful buildings and trees and the nature surrounding everything, but it was also such a good vibration of love that was coming. And it was just such a good experience. I wanted to talk to you about love, actually. Nowadays, I'm not trying to pinpoint anything or label anything, but love has a lot of different meanings in different countries, different cultures. I was born in New York, and sometimes the word love, it gets thrown like very simply. Like, you meet a stranger on the street, you talk with him, and you just say, "Oh, I love you, bro." You know, and the word love might not be getting the emphasis that it should be. What would you try to describe love as, or true love as?
Very difficult to describe in words. It's beyond description, because even simple things like having bread or ice cream, it's very difficult to express the taste of it. All the nuances will skip our mind, they will be evading. And love is the subtlest thing, almost akin to God. God is infinite in nature. Similarly, love is also infinite in nature, and you are so right when you say the word love has many implications. Depends who you're talking to. Right? Children, you talk to, they say, "Oh, I love my toys." And youngsters, "Oh, I love my honey," whatever. And as you grow mentally and spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, then the meaning also changes. Everything changes. Your tastes, your understanding, your wisdom, your thinking about, and also the society at large also influences various definitions. For example, before late 60s, the word gay was used to say, I'm so gay today, I'm so happy today. Today, gay has a different meaning. Love, once upon a time, it was kind of a taboo to tell your beloved, I love you. Because by making a statement, I love you, and especially in public, it's like cheapening your love. You're showcasing your love, showing off your love. You see, in Eastern and Western culture, there's a wide difference, but now both cultures are melting into each other, right? So we end up saying everything as love. Oh, this food was so great. Even they use absurd word like, "Oh, the dress is sexy."
Yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree.
So, understanding, and people use words based on their wisdom.
Yeah.
You can judge a person by the words they utter.
No, definitely. And you also mentioned God, another very important topic, I believe. Personally, for me, I grew up in a Hindu family, but I also went to Catholic high school, where I wasn't just introduced into Catholicism, but also a ton of major world religions. And I realized and I saw that everybody has a different image of God, right? Some people see God as Jesus. Some people see God as Krishna. Some people don't see God as a physical form. Some people think that God is within us. What would you describe God as, in your words?
Simply put, God is embodiment of love. When we say God is infinite, where will you put infinity into to make it more personal? You can't. If people with their own wisdom and understanding could not understand Lord Jesus, that He is divine, right? Even when He was there in the physical presence, many missed out, could not recognize Him. So how are you going to recognize Him with images? Words which were formed or tabulated 200, 300 years later by the scholars. Similarly, Krishna. Was he renowned in those days as avatar or incarnation of God? No. Some people wanted to kill him also. Right? Some of his friends could not understand him either. Right? And if, even with the real physical form, you can miss identification, understanding of that personality, how are you going to understand Krishna or Jesus today with images? You can't. Does that mean they are less divine? No. We can understand their qualities only when we go inside our heart. Right? If we're going to imagine that they were like this, but what purpose will it serve? Physical form really does not serve the purpose. You might as well make a statue out of it. Most people are doing it today. And that shows reverence and respect. That's good. But beyond that, if you want to go and become those qualities, then you have to adopt a different path, different understanding. You'll have to understand them as beyond physical forms.
Yeah, not just the physical form, but what they stand for.
What they stand for, and they stood by and held those principles all their lives.
No, I agree, definitely.
If you don't have those principles, let's say as a Catholics, if you don't believe in peace and harmony, love and compassion and kindness, then you're not a Christian. It's easy to wear a cross, easy to go to church, it's very easy. But to imbibe those qualities and inculcate those things in the true behavior, it's quite challenging. Same thing with the Islam. You may be doing 5 times a day namaz, but if that love, compassion is not there, you are inhuman.
Yeah, no, makes sense.
Same thing is with Hindus. Whatsoever you do, doesn't matter be you a Hindu or be you a Christian or a Buddhist or Islamist, you have to perform your duties as the belonging of that great religion. Imbibe those qualities and become like the one under whose name these religions are running. Experiences, I would like to say that, religions create a lot of belief system and dogmas. Nothing wrong with it. Once you have some idea of dogmas and belief system, you'll become happier once you transcend and experience those belief systems. For example, believing that God is everywhere. But to experience His presence everywhere is a different matter, and that is spirituality. Okay. Religion is all about belief. Spirituality is all about experiencing. And once you experience, your belief drops. You don't have to believe that He's everywhere. Experience is also not enough. For example, when you are being treated with great hospitality by your friends, and you spend 3 months on a very private island, you enjoy hospitality. But deep down in your heart, you would say, I wish I was also as rich and had a bigger island. Similarly, the experiences that you all go through, divine experiences, they're great. But deep down, you'll have the craving, the thirst that I wish I was also divine. So you see, you move away from mere belief to experience, and the cravings begins to become that on which I have been contemplating. And then real wisdom dawns on us. Because this becoming also becomes too heavy for us, becomes a burden. And you want to renounce it and be free from all that. Absolute freedom. What I like to call it as freedom, even from the idea of freedom. Then only you are free. Otherwise, you are caught up also with freedom.
No, I agree. And I really like how you started talking about religion versus spirituality, because that was something I really wanted to talk about as well. Because there's a lot of different cultures, there's a lot of different religions, but sometimes, and I'm not trying to pinpoint one religion or another, but sometimes there's a certain ego that comes along with religion, and it's not for everybody. But sometimes people get a certain like a sense of that this is my religion, this is the only religion. That religion is not good. If you're following in that religion, you're either going to go to hell, or you're not a good person. And in many cases, I'm not going to say what religion, but in some cases, they're like, okay, my job is either to convert him or to kill him, right? Because he's not on the right path, because he's not on this religion. Even if that person is a good human being, even if that person does good by what he's learned from his religion, what would you say is I know you can't have like one solution to it, but how can we work on fixing that divide between religion and spirituality, where people are not willing to go into some meditation practices or not willing to go into some belief systems because the way they've been brought up, and we can't change that, of course. Sometimes, you've been brought up in a family that's from a specific religion. Your parents believe that, and you're 20, 30 years old, and this is your belief, this is what your parents told you, and it's hard for you to transition into a different religion or a different belief system. So how would you say is an easy way for someone to get into spirituality without kind of having trouble going away from their religious beliefs?
Spirituality is not at a crossroad against religion. In fact, spirituality teaches you to be a good religious person. If you understand spirituality, then you would say, if you are following Hinduism, you'll say, I should become a better Hindu. If you are following spirituality, I should become a good Buddhist or good Muslim or a good Jew. Spirituality teaches us to become better and better and better in what we are doing for the sake of love of God. Right? But once a person has determined, and that's not a fault of a religion, it is indoctrination by the negative elements that propagates its ideas. You see? And somehow you have to make them understand that sit quietly and see how your heart says, what your heart says. You don't have to meditate to understand what is wrong and what is right. Even a small child of 5 months old, when he drops bottle of milk from his hands, he also does oops, right?
Intuition is yeah.
So if 5 year or 5 months old child can understand that this is wrong, why not an adult? Adult also understands, but they don't want to believe. The ego is so much, and especially religions, monotheistic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Their ego is a bloated ego. You see, everyone fights over this fact that I belong to a better religion. And that is dividing factor. Hinduism today also is taking a different turn. But over last many centuries and millennia, Hinduism is all embracing, right? In Vedas, for example, when earlier rishis, the sages could experience the divinity in everything, to them everything became worshipable. The rivers, the skies, the stars, the trees, the animals, other human beings, everything they worship. Even a stone they would end up worshipping as divinity. Right? Today, we are copying that without experiencing the divinity in everything. Okay? And no one even tries to experience that divinity in rivers, in skies. We have lost that connect. So, even within oneself, most cannot experience divinity. And if you cannot experience that within yourself, all the external things become useless, absolutely useless. You can have the best guru in the world, unless and until that inside chord strikes, makes music, till then you will not understand what spirituality or divinity is all about. So Hinduism has gone really, really, really wrong on a big turn. And same thing is with other religions. They pride, I am better than others. And this division kills us.
It does, no, it does. I've experienced it firsthand just from where I grew up, and whether it was just between friends or even between family friends, it's something that really changes the relationship. And now that we were talking about spirituality, I actually wanted to talk about drugs, but not just about like taking drugs on everyday life for fun and stuff, but the trend that's happening these days, right? People, and there's books been written about this, where people, at least in America, for what I know, they think we can reach a spiritual state by using drugs, by using psychedelic drugs, whether that's shrooms, maybe LSD. Some people are even using basic drugs such as weed to get a little bit of relaxation that they think that they could get from meditation. Do you think that that's like totally incorrect? Do you think that there's some truth in that? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's 100% true. That let's try and understand what is meant by Manushya or Manav or man. Who is a man? And man is the individual who has mind, manas. Both man and manas, they share the same root, Sanskrit manas. Manas means the mind. As long as the mind, the thinking faculty is regulated and you become a wiser person as a result, you become more and more advanced as a human being. With the same argument, you can say anything that changes this mind from thinking, lower and lower level of thinking, you are moving away from humanity. You are becoming lesser and lesser of a man or human. That is devolution. Anything that compromises your consciousness makes you less aware, is counterproductive to you. Anything that can make you more aware, not by taking drugs, but somehow through good understanding, better understanding, with correct thinking, then you are advancing on a better path towards evolution. So if you apply these two simple principles, am I thinking properly under the influence of these drugs? Is my consciousness more refined than before I indulged with drugs? If not, I think it's more harmful to you. Anything, it's not just drugs. overtaking or overconsumption of anything. Food, for example. Sometimes you have to sleep sometimes. You have eaten so much. So anything that affects your consciousness in a negative way, we should avoid.
Okay, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. Do you think it's because because you kind of have a dependency on it, as far as my experience, where I've seen a lot of friends take drugs, they get a certain kind of dependency on it, right? And it's not like you might I've had friends say, "Oh, I saw God on shrooms," right? And like that, I see it. No, come on, that's not possible. I mean, if you're not, as you said, you're not aware, then how can that be true, right?
Seeing God while taking drugs?
Yeah. So many people have come up to me and said, "Oh, bro, I took shrooms and I saw Ma Durga." This one person said, I saw all these arms and I saw Ma Durga while taking shrooms. Like, no, that's impossible.
Okay, suppose you ask me a question. Can you show me God? And I say, of course I can show you God, but how will you know that is God? Unless you want to think in your own imagination that this is God. Just to justify that you are under a positive influence of psychedelic drug, you want to boast your own trumpets. Try to prove that the grapes are sweeter.
Yeah. No, I agree. That makes sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's also ego.
That is an ego. Yeah, you're fooling yourself. Definitely. I also wanted to talk to you about the film, TV industry, as well as the music industry, because I personally, I'm an actor, I'm a singer. I've worked in some stuff in Hollywood. I love music, but because I've gone into spirituality, I always try to find the purpose in what I'm doing. And for me personally, when I'm trying to do music, I'm trying to spread some of our culture, whether it's Hindustani classical music or something. I'm trying to do fusion music, mix English with Hindi, try to spread that so people can understand a little bit of taste of India that they just might not know. But there's also many artists that believe cinema is cinema, right? It's not something that you don't have to take away something from it. For example, I'll give you one example. And I'm not trying to say that this is bad or this is that, but there was this new Bollywood movie that came out, okay? It came out maybe a month or two ago, very recently. It was called Animal. I think it was Ranbir Kapoor in it or something. And I'm not going to pinpoint anything, but basically there was a lot of abuse, a lot of male toxicity in it. The characters mostly had a lot of ego, but more than that, it was like a lot of killing, a lot of violence. And because we're in the day of social media, and there's benefits from social media, and I agree that, but there's also this whole sense that because it's such a big movie, right? And these characters, this guy who he just got married, right? And he got married to 3-4 wives. He's coming in, he's slapping another wife, slapping this wife. All this stuff is happening. And now people are imitating that on Instagram Reels, right? They're acting it out and it's getting millions and millions of Reels made. Do you think that this is okay? Because when people ask them in interviews that, this is happening, that's happening, they said, well, it's a piece of art. It's not about taking away from something. It's a role. We as actors, we do it. And that's that. It's cinema. You go watch it, you get entertained. It's plain entertainment. That's all it's about, entertainment. Do you think the industry is about entertainment, or should there be a purpose in what you're creating as a creator?
There must be a purpose. A person should take responsibility that how this is going to affect. Earlier we talked about drugs that affect your consciousness. Similarly, this idea can influence in a very subtle way. Visual graphics are very powerful media to convince people. And by using such powerful tools, if you can create anarchy in society, then it is bad. You cannot create anarchy like that, of that order. Children, for example, I have heard, and I have seen in the news, Channel 5 news in New York, I think it's that Channel 9. One of them, they keep announcing at 10 o'clock before the news begins. At 10 sharp, it announces it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? Okay, and then the news starts. There I heard once the news. Anchor was saying a 3-year toddler killed his sister who was just 4 months old. Right? Because he had been watching this what they call wrestling with his father. So he used, the wrestlers will climb up on some heights, and from that height they would jump on someone who is lying down and who is not able to move, and they crush that person. Same thing he tried to do. He jumped, he kept her on the floor, and he jumped from the bed on her, and with that he lost his sister. Now, if the father was responsible in sowing right things, then this could have been avoided. Similarly, movies like Animals, many things are obnoxious. I have not seen the movie, but the description that you are giving me, if that is true, then it is obnoxious. It should be censored. Many movies are creating the culture of perversion under the name of freedom. Freedom, truly speaking, is all about doing the right thing. We all have the freedom in the world. God has given us the freedom not to do the wrong thing, just the right thing. And that's what we call dharma. What is my dharma? Dharma is only to do right thing. Even God cannot give you permission to do wrong thing. And God cannot stop you when you are intending to do good things. The fights, especially in countries like India, United States, Canada, they fight for freedom, secularism. But what is all that? These are just names. I am free to carry the gun. For what? Sometimes you may end up using it on your loved ones. Sometimes you will accidentally kill someone. You can. There are more harms than good with such things. If there are more good, lesser harms, like medications, pharmaceuticals. Every drug has some side effect, but when we compare benefits versus side effects, even milk has side effect. We can't label it universally that milk is bad. So we have to be very careful in how we use our freedom.
No, I agree. That's very beautifully said. I really hope that some people get that message because, as you can see, like our whole, not just our country, but the whole world is dominated by the media industry. Whatever is put on the media, as you said, that story about the toddler, I mean, that almost got tears in my eyes. I was like, now I have so much to think about just from that. But yeah, no, I totally agree. And you were talking about freedom and how in the name of freedom, there's lots of things being done that should not be done. I wanted to talk about the LGBTQ community, LGBTQ. Especially in America, there's a big fight going on for many different things in the name of LGBTQ. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Like, do you think that everything that's being done, whether it's a march for specific, I'll give you one example, for transgender, right? There's this whole kind of fight going on about children getting transgender operations. Like, parents should be allowed, even if their daughter is 5 years old, and she's dressing into men clothes, right? Jeans, things, or if you have a son, he's dressing in some dresses, that parents should be allowed and should have the right. I think there was a law passed actually where parents are allowed to get their children to get transgender operations, remove their genitals, replace their genitals, change it all up, even if they're 5 years old. What are your thoughts on that?
If I had my children, and would I do that to my children? Personally speaking, I will not. But who am I to say for others? It's their choice. Karma always haunts you. So we have to perform our actions thoughtfully. If God, I would say God was not a fool, or God is not a fool to create two sexes if one was enough.
Okay.
So this is my very simple take. But would I say that you are doing wrong? No, I leave it to you. That's your choice. You have been given freedom to choose. Choose it wisely.
Oh, definitely, that totally makes sense. I wanted to talk about one more thing. We were talking about love. Nowadays, the meaning of love has changed, as we were talking about, in different cultures and different communities. And because of social media, right, there's all these dating apps nowadays, right? You can go and look at photos and maybe like one or two words of a bio and go on dates. Also, at least in America, live-in relationships are very popular. Sex before marriage is a very big deal. And now actually I've seen, at least personally speaking from my experience, India, a lot of people in India that I know are going to that road as well. There's a lot of people dating, a lot of people, doing sex before marriage, live-in relationships. What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think that's fine? Do you think something should be changed? What are your beliefs on that?
The world is changing so rapidly. You see. I cannot make any remarks or comments on this. See, it's difficult to judge what is right, what is wrong. See. When you talk of Mahabharata, for example, when Kunti, she had one son before marriage. Right? That was done in a very special way through divine powers. Yeah. Then the whole idea of morality comes into the picture. Yeah. The whole aspect of experimentation, trying with this person, trying with that person, trying with that person. You see. People maintain a diary and they are not happy even sleeping with 100 people. More you indulge, more you remain unsatisfied. So again, it's an individual's approach to life. We have to find the root cause of all these problems. Why do people join certain groups? Skinheads, drugs, sexuality approaches in multiple ways. This is because of the gap at home between parents and children. Such a wide gap exists today. Children are afraid of sharing their joys, their pains. They are not able to share open-heartedly. If at all they share, it will be shared out of frustration and at the last moment. And then everything remains hidden. Oh, what will my mother think if I say I did this? So we begin to judge and we try to reprimand the child, and the child begins to distance oneself. And if child begins to distance oneself from parents, they will try to find comfortable company, comfortable ways of satisfying oneself. If a boy cannot find a sex partner in the form of female, he'll indulge with other means. So if we have a healthy relationship at home, most of the problems society is facing today can be avoided. There's a greater and greater gap here in India as well, much greater than in Western countries.
No, definitely. I had one more question, one last question, and if you don't feel comfortable answering this, no worries at all. I know it's a pretty pretty serious kind of topic, but the reason I want to ask this is because there's like a trend going on, at least in the Western world, where people are talking about no-fap. No-fap, that's kind of like a slang term for not masturbating, like preventing from masturbation. Some people say that there's lots of benefits from it, like relaxation, focus, and people are going months and months and even sometimes years and not doing that. Do you think there's some connection to masturbation and spirituality? Like if you stop masturbating, that you'll be able to grow a little bit more spiritually? Do you believe that that's okay? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, youth is going to try it out. That's why the society, Indian society, promoted early marriages to prevent all these aberrations of sexuality.
Yeah, that makes sense.
See, early marriages also prevents you from dating before marriage. You see, it is going to have, energy is already there, and you don't know how to divert this energy. Spirituality is one way. Only if you adopt spirituality in correct method, then all these aberrations can be prevented. But most spiritual approaches are already corrupt. They add more and more guilt in your life. So I would say, I would promote actually early marriages. I don't recommend child marriage, but earlier as possible.
Okay.
And I would like you all to read this book, Wisdom Bridge.
Okay.
Earlier, the better. Because once that moment is lost, your genetic expressions also gets diluted as you age. And today, I get hundreds of letters these days. Women not able to conceive. Even at the age of 30, because they have been using contraceptives so much, the system remains suppressed. Then they want to have child, thinking at 35 with IVF they will be able to do it. Even that, you don't know the health and mental and emotional health of a child that is to come in this world. When you say the productive age of a woman, for example, what is the best time? They begin to produce, their reproductive system is really begins to mature by the age of 14, 15, like that. Mature, properly matured. And peak time is around 20, 21, 22, like that. After 25, it begins to decline. They have a window between maybe 35 and 15, 20 years. After that, it's uphill battle. Even at the age of 31, 32, doctors would recommend undergoing a test. They take the placenta liquid and try to analyze the DNA pattern or chromosome study, just to make sure that at this late age in your pregnancy, child is healthier. But no one listens. or if the child is not healthy, you can abort it. Yeah, right. So these two curses today, one is contraception. That gives you freedom to have sex whenever, wherever, and with whomever. And perchance, if you get pregnant against your wishes or desires, you have a right to abort also. You have enough pills and methods and to do all that. So, do you think this is a good freedom?
It's I don't think so. I mean, and now that you're talking about abortion, as a whole, again, another, because when with freedom, people start wanting something so specifically, this whole thing about my body, my choice, or women are saying, no, it's my body. I can do whatever I want with it. If I want to abort it, I'm going to abort it. And that's a whole other thing.
So, we can't fight it. It's their choice, and I do agree.
But thank you so much.
Thank
It
you.
was truly an honor talking to you. And,
Thank you,
yeah,
Aryaan.
thank you.